Greetings, BookTube. I'm here with a tier ranking for the early Nobel laureate winners. My goal here is to encourage folks to read, to seek out some of the best writers that the world has ever seen, even though they're a little bit older. And I think we have a lot of recency bias on BookTube, and these books are amazing. They really, on top of which most of them are available for free, right, on Gutenberg or your preferred site for the copyright-free works. So with a couple exceptions, which I'll mention here. So that's the goal here. So I've got 12, 13, 14, I don't know how many books here, books or plays. The top S, I made S into stellar. A is awesome. B is beautiful. Basically, these are all already S tier. They're all S tier. So these are like mini divisions within the S tier. So the bottom would be demanding but rewarding. And these are going to be the ones that for language and other reasons are a little bit hard to find. Then C is going to be challenging, but in a good way. You know what I mean. Like we enjoy being challenged. B is beautiful. That's sort of our baseline in the middle there. A is awesome. So now you have that beauty, but with that beauty, there's this feeling of like, whoa, right? And then stellar, now this is just cosmic. So we're going to start with our first one here, The Wonderful Adventures of NILS. This is by Selma Lagerlof. Yes, we had a female Nobel laureate in the very beginning, and thereafter the female percentage plummeted, unfortunately. But anyway, she wrote plenty of wonderful adult works as well, the Saga of Gösta Berling and other works. But here I've chosen The Wonderful Adventures of NILS. Basically, NILS gets like shrunken down by this elf or something. And learns the language of the birds, and so you can see if you can see on the cover, he's flying on a goose here, and so he can talk and hang out with the birds. So got to put this right in the middle. So we got our easy baseline. It's very fun. It's very good. It's very beautiful. It's an easy read. Obviously, it's good for children. All that good stuff. Next is ARNE. Now, ARNE is by Bjornsson. He is Norwegian. There are a lot of Nordics in the early going stages of the Nobel Prizes, but they're generally, in the early going ones, are well deserved of their prizes. Later on, it's harder to make the case. So ARNE is very much a family drama. You've got the mom who stayed too late at a dance, kind of maligned. The dad, he breaks his back in a fight over another woman. The mom takes him in. It's really about the love of the mom and the son. And he wants to go out and live his life, but in fact, his friend sends letters from his travels, and she hides the letters from him. So there's this family drama. Now, I'm not hugely fond of family dramas, so for me, this one is challenging for that reason alone. It's amazing. It's definitely, I'm glad I read it. I would read it again. But if you like family dramas, it could be higher up for you, for sure. The next one is going to be, I think, probably our first stellar. This is a play. So a lot of these are plays, very fast reads, very easy reads. This one is called The Bluebird. It is a psychedelic fairy tale, craziness, amazing language, imagery, symbols, all kinds of craziness going on. Really good fun. Stellar. That's by Maeterlinck. He's Belgian, but writes in French. But what I didn't realize until today is he's actually Flemish Belgian, but writes in French. Very impressive. Okay, next we have our first of our Spanish plays. This is Intereses Creados, or Bonds of Interest, this one's called. It's by Benavente. And this is a very much of a farce. So right away, I'm going to put it in A. because comedy always gets short shrift, you know? Like, how many comedies have ever won the Oscars, right? So I'm going to put it in A. It's got elements of commedia dell'arte, which if you've never seen it, these typed characters, they're hilarious. It's just a good, fun read. And next one is also Spanish play by Echegaray. This one's more of a social satire. It's all around the theme of gossip. There's sort of like a love triangle. It's the name comes from Dante, but yeah, it's another good one. I will put this one. I would say, where am I going to put this one? I think I got to put it as an A too. We got to love our comedies, right? Easy read, a lot of fun. Gran Galeoto. I always mispronounce it. Gran Galeoto. Okay, next now, this one is definitely not obscure, but unfortunately obscure to English readers, but not to Indians, because this is Tagore, and so we also had a non-European winner in the early going of the Nobel Prize. These are all from the 10s and 20s, 1910s and 20s. Basically, and then unfortunately the non-European representation dropped off as well. But yeah, Tagore was in there early, amazing writer. Bjornsson wrote the national anthem for Norway. Tagore doubles him. He wrote the national anthems for India and Bengal. He's got some great stuff, plays. I think I have a video of his play, The Post Office, or maybe one of his poems, Geetanjali. I almost wanted to put here one that he wrote about blue orchids, something like that, about America, satire on America. And it got to go with Home in the World. It's because it's a really gonna, I think, really appeal to people who want a good feminist work. So it's about a wife and her being torn between her family, her marriage, right, duties, and then her increasingly radicalized politics. This was also adapted by the great Sienckewicz Ray, who did Apu and all the trilogy there on the Criterion collections of films. So you can see that version of Home in the World, really great. Because I'm not a great lover of domestic dramas, this one also goes C for me, even though Tagore would be stellar. So again, if you like domestic dramas, this one could be much higher for you. Okay, I left Kim in, the only sort of really well-known, still widely read contemporarily author in these early goings for English speakers is Kipling. And I chose Kim because it's, I think, a perfect work for you if you have a problem with Kipling, but deign to read Kipling still. This is a good one for you to be able to discuss all the problematics of colonization. Kim is a white boy, but very Indianized, speaks all the languages, lives at the base level, on the street, basically, and also around the military camps for sure. But he teams up with this Lama. They go all around, and this is the time of the Second Afghan War. They go all around the Raj. So, this is the time of the Great Game between Russia and all that. So there's some good history in here, historical fiction. It's a great book, and I thought it would also give a good baseline because I would call this a solid B. So if this is a work that you do already know, then therefore, and I would probably put the Jungle Book, also as a B here. So that will give you an idea of how these other works are ranking compared to a work that you actually know. Okay, so Lucky Pair. The next one, this is by Pontoppidan. Now, he's Danish. And this one is about an arriviste. This is like one of those young men who wants to make it in society, right? He's courting this heiress. She's Jewish, and her character is amazing. And he's got these weird engineering schemes. It's a bit of social realism. It's good read. Short, if I recall correctly. I read it a long time ago. Solid B again for me with that one, I would say. And on to our first D. So here's the thing with Mireo by Frédéric Mistral. He wrote in Provençal. He was a huge promoter of Provençal. Now you can find it in French, no problem. I'm just not sure you can find it in English. So for that reason, it goes in the D, because it's hard to find, and then if you don't speak French, it's going to be hard to read. But oh my God, if you can, it is one of the most beautiful love poems. It's a book-length poem that you will ever read. It's just a beautiful love story. All right. And then the next is also, believe it or not, a book-length poem, an epic poem in this case, which is going to go in the same because it's in German. Karl Spiteller, who wrote it, is Swiss, but I assume he's Swiss-German. Anyway, this is written in German. I have a little German, but it's beyond what I can read. So again, this sort of the same problem of being able to get it in a version that you can read. If you can, it's great. This is about the universe and allegory, and it's fantastical, but also naturalistic and full of religious and mythological stuff. So great find if you can. All right, back to stuff that's more easy to find. For Anatole France, so this one is not too obscure for Frenchies, but for English speakers, I'm not sure how much Anatole France they read. I haven't actually read this one, but I know quite a bit about it. So I picked Penguin Island. And this is definitely going to go in A category. So Penguin Island is based, this is Penguin Island. There it is. Penguin Island is basically a myopic priest baptizes a bunch of penguins, and thereafter they sort of develop sort of along human lines. They develop a civilization and terror, and it's a whole thing, and it's really fun. And my wife was reading it when I was courting her, so I guess at that time my girlfriend. And I have read him, Les Dieux ont soif, The Gods Are Thirsty, I guess. What else? I've read a couple things from him, but I hadn't read Penguin Island. But I feel like she would read it to me a bit now and again, and feel like I got a pretty good feel for it. And I can pretty confidently put that in there at A. Okay, so just a little out of order. These were in alpha order, I think, when they came in. So not any particular ordering by me at the bottom here. Now we got our Pilgrim KAMINATA. So Pilgrim KAMINATA is by a Dane. His name's Karl Gjellerup. And it's a quest story. A quest that both reaches and attains its goal and also misses its goal. And then sort of ends up in like a sort of heavenly space, which is also decaying. Very interesting stuff. So interesting that if you had to guess which way the influence would go for something for something Buddhist between Thailand and Denmark, surely you would think from Thailand and Denmark. But actually, this work by a Dane became very, very popular in Thailand. So the Pilgrim KAMINATA, I love it. It's an S for me. Tons to think about in that one. All right, we're now getting to, we've had a bunch of novels now in a row. We had some plays. Now we got the longest novel, I think, in here. It's not a super long novel, but it's a longer novel. And this is by Polish author Sienckewicz. And it's but it's the story of Rome at the time when Christianity could easily have become crushed, and it was far from clear that it was going to take over the empire, right? So this critical moment of both the Roman and the Christian influence so much deciding basically the fate of the West in this time frame, with these characters of Petronius and Vinicius is the how can I put it? Petronius is sort of the clever one. Petronius is sort of the pretty boy or whatever. And then Lygia is in love with this Christian girl. And anyway, so they're on the run. There's the fire of Rome. There's Nero. There's all that good stuff. So I would put this one, I would say, as an A. So again, we got another historical fiction. We've had some love stories. We've had some comedy. So that's Quo Vadis. Not at all obscure, I'm sure, for Poles. And even for English speakers, I think this is among the less obscure of these works. Okay, so now we have, that is the red oleanders. Yeah, that's the Tagore that I chose not to go with about America. So now let's look at Tree of the Volsungs. This is kind of like saga-ish. Von Heidenstam is Swedish. He's got this sort of folksy, Folks is the main character who meets up with a sorcerer, that goes through, it's a generational saga thing, then the brother against brother towards the end. So this one, I think, is a solid A as well. If you like fantasy, you might like it. If you like sagas, obviously you'll like it. And now we have The Weavers. This one is naturalist in the Zola way. It's about a strike in Silesia in 1844. You'll remember that in 1848, half of Europe broke out in revolutions. This was translated, became popular in Yiddish. And it's starting into the more, a little bit more experimental. There's no central character. This is a play. And so we'll end with that, I think. And we'll put that one is C. So again, I'm not a huge lover of naturalism, although I'm a socialist. So if you like naturalism, you rank this one higher. But we'll stop there. At this point, you run into Yeats. You run into Shaw. So we're starting to get now into the more modernist people that you know and will have heard of and read. But these guys on this list, they all deserve to be well-known and well-read by all good, curious, well-read folks on BookTube. And they're not stodgy reads. They're not, difficult reads. They're just good fun and in all kinds of genres. So I hope I've convinced you through this to pick up at least a few of these. Let me know which ones are interesting to you. If you'd like to know more about any of these authors or any of these works, I'd be happy to discuss them with you in the comments. Thank you, and sorry for a bit of forced perspective with the with the camera here, but we do our best here at Analog readDANculous.